Chapter 40. To Deadly Perverts. Outside Dragon Vein City, Fairy flew to a hidden place in a mountain forest. Standing in the forest, putting away the zither figurine, Fairy looked into the distance, where Guhai was escorted into Dragon Vein City by a group of strong men. Fairy's face sank. "Bad egg, who asked you to save me? What kind of saving me is this? Instead, you got yourself involved." Fairy stomped her foot. Looking into the distance, there was a moment of silence, when a fairy flipped her hand and took out a black outfit to change into. "HMPH, in turn, you want me to save you? Nothing to find trouble." Fairy looked at the distant Dragon Pulse City and whined. However, within this whine was not a complaint, but a wave of worrying. Wearing a bucket hat, Fairy quickly flew towards Dragon Vein City. In the Dragon Vein City, Guhai brought Long Wenyu and went on a rampage through the city, digging up large mountains and cleaning up large rivers. The entire interior of Dragon Vein City was made a mess. Guhai commanded one strong force after another in a big way, causing a bunch of forces to resent each other. Even with all sorts of threats and insults, Guhai still did what he wanted. So much so that, 2 days later, the cultivators surrounding Guhai were getting fewer and fewer, who didn't want to give Guhai a subordinate to instruct. Besides, what Guhai said might not be right. Therefore, the crowd of powerful people returned to their respective territories, just monitoring where Guhai was from afar. "HMPH, if I can't find him, I'll kill him for sure. Bastard, asking my clan to help you dig up a mountain. No one has ever dared to instruct me like that. Wait a few days, I'll kill you." One by one, the powerhouses were in the distance, looking at Guhai with gloomy faces. The watchers around Guhai were getting fewer and fewer, but Guhai revealed a light smile. While rummaging around in the city, he carefully studied the topography of the city. "They won't be able to catch up with us underground." A confidence flashed in Guhai's eyes. There was a large formation shrouding the city, but the 4 directions city gates were open all. Guhai had calculated everything, just missing a chaotic opportunity. When the opportunity arrives, attracting everyone's attention, is the time for his own quick escape. The opportunity is only once. All he has to do then is to rush to the city gates, take the flying boat, and drill into the ground. Everything will be fine. Quadded Great King couldn't possibly follow Guhai at all times, and had long since flown to the top of a mountain peak, coldly looking at Guhai in the distance. There were fewer and fewer people around Guhai, and even the ones who stayed around were somewhat impatient. 2 days and 2 nights as a mountain digger, a river cleaner. He himself is the head of the family, accompanying you to play here. The crowd slowly retreated. Only one person, who had been following Guhai to death, was Shiyan. Although he didn't know what Guhai's idea was, but Shiyan was still very guarded against Guhai and kept close to his side. The 3rd day, the complaints from the cultivators in the 4 directions grew louder and louder. "Guhai, you can't find it, right? Ha ha ha, I'll see how you die later," Heiyan said with a scowl on his face. 3 days down the line, all the surrounding cultivators didn't trust Guhai anymore. Many of the cultivators who had been instructed by Guhai to dig up the mountain were even more gloomy, sharpening their swords and looking at Guhai in death. This Guhai, looking for death. Now, no matter if Shiyan or Qinzibai wanted to kill Guhai, the crowd of cultivators wouldn't help anymore, and would even fall on their swords. Guhai ignored it and continued to command an army to dig the mountain. It was digging the mountain again. This place, however, was very close to the East City Gate. The surrounding cultivators were almost empty. No one thought that Guhai was going to escape, because almost everyone was staring. Escape? How could Guhai possibly escape? Unbeknownst to them, Gu Hai had already designed all the routes long ago and was only waiting for an opportunity. If the opportunity didn't arrive, then find a way to find something to attract everyone's attention. In the distance, Gu Hai saw a black-robed man standing in the crowd. The black-robed man wasn't a sidekick. It was really Giant Foal, the new supreme of the Foal Stone people. Gu Hai had long since made arrangements for him. Giant Foal nodded at Gu Hai as if waiting for Gu Hai's order. Gu Hai was about to nod his head and start attracting everyone's attention as planned. "Ah, brother-in-law, something's not right." Long Wenyu suddenly changed her face. "Hey, what's wrong?" Gu Hai looked at Long Wenyu in confusion. "This, down here. I feel a great evil." Long Wenyu looked at Gu Hai worriedly. "Great fierce." Sima Feng's face changed at the side. "Oh, what great evil?" Gu Hai was puzzled. Dragon Vein City. Below it pressed the Death Grave Valley. Every once in a while, some dry drought demon fire would emerge, but in the past few days that Gu Hai was there was no movement at all in the ground. Gu Hai was ready to break out and leave, but Long Wenyu said that there was a great evil under the ground. What great evil? Xian frowned at the side. Gu Hai ignored it and instead looked at the large mountain that had been dug up in front of him. Underneath the big mountain, it was flat and plain. It was just black and dark land. There was nothing more. "Keep digging. The treasure is found." Gu Hai steeply let out a loud shout. Buzz! In the four directions, countless cultivators were instantly energized. In these 3 days, everyone had lost faith in Gu Hai, thinking that Gu Hai was a liar. But now, he said that he had found it. Whew! Steeply, large swaths of cultivators flew over. "Where is it? Where is the treasure?" the crowd of cultivators eagerly said. "Right here. Quick, you guys hurry up and dig," Gu Hai called out. "Bullshit. Where is the treasure here?" Xian immediately glared. Boom. Quadded Great King probed his hand. Immediately, a large amount of earth and rocks were lifted up by it. A large pit was revealed. "Nothing. Gu Hai, you lied to me," Quadded Great King said with a grim expression on his face. "Brother-in-law, down there, Long Wenyu said with an anxious face. "Keep digging." Gu Hai drank. Quadded Great King looked at Gu Hai doubtfully. "HMPH, Gu Hai, if there's nothing down there, I'll kill you," a cultivator said with a scowl on his face. With that, he recruited his subordinates and started digging up. "Humph, my clan's disciples, come over here and dig. If you can't, use the ancient sea to sacrifice the pit. My army, dig for me. If you can't dig down, kill the ancient sea." The surrounding powerhouses called all of their subordinates and disciples over one by one, and quickly dug the giant pit. The giant pit was very deep. The soil dug out, in the twinkling of an eye, had already piled up into 5 large mountains. A deep dark pit was exposed in front of everyone, but there was still nothing. "Brother-in-law, this great evil, so scary. Can't dig, Long Wenyu said with horror on her face. Gu Hai frowned slightly, and the commotion here instantly spread throughout Dragon Pulse City. More and more people gathered to the east of the city. The land to the west of the city. Mr. Dongfang and Qin Zibai looked coldly into the distance. "Found it. Hey, joke." Mr. Dongfang laughed coldly. "Oh," Qin Zibai was puzzled. "I've long since measured it out. Every time the drought demon flame appears, the source is the west side of the city. So how do you think it's possible to find something in the east side of the city?" Mr. Dongfang sneered. "But it's just a plot and trick played by that Gu Hai," Mr. Dongfang said in a cold voice. Qin Zibai frowned slightly and nodded. "Speaking of which, if it was Gu Hai playing tricks, it was really possible. Heh. How many people are staring at Gu Hai nowadays? If he's playing tricks at this time, that's purely looking for death. Without me having to do anything, he'll be doomed, right?" Qin Zibai sneered. "Yeah, Cheng Dong, it's impossible to find the treasure. Mr. Dongfang sneered. Found it. There really is something. There really is something. A sound of surprise steeply came from the distance. What? How is it possible? Mr. Dongfang's face sank. No, it's Gu Hai on purpose. He has the faux stone man. The faux stone man buried into the ground in advance. What does he want? Qin Zhaibai's face turned cold. But, this time, it really wasn't a plot played by Gu Hai. Gu Hai had the giant foal bury things underground, but not here in the east of the city, but in the south of the city. He was preparing to attract everyone's attention to facilitate his escape. How come the east of the city dug up something? Who are you? Quadid Great King probed his hand and waved. A large amount of soil once again lifted away, instantly revealing an underground seal like a tortoise shell below. A few cultivators hit it. The turtle shell actually did not move at all. What is this? The crowd looked towards Gu Hai. Where did Gu Hai know? Brother-in-law, we can't dig. This can't be dug. Quickly go. Quickly get away from here. Long when you said, anxiously. Gu Hai's face sank as he looked around at the crowd. Quadid Great King, and all of you, I found something for all of you, so I won't participate anymore. Make yourselves at home. Gu Hai shook his head and said. Want to run? Hei Yan gave a steep roar. Eh? The crowd looked at Hei Yan in confusion. HMPH, Gu Hai, you're trying to trick us. This was prearranged by you, wasn't it? You had the foothill stone man bury it, didn't you? Want to leave? It's not that easy. How could you possibly know that there's something here? Hei Yan angrily shouted. As soon as Hei Yan angrily shouted, everyone frowned and hesitated a little. Even the Quadid Great King looked at Gu Hai coldly, obviously not allowing Gu Hai to leave. Gu Hai, made a fool of yourself, didn't you? Ha 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 ha. These past few days, you've played everyone for fools. And now that you've made a fake thing, you want to fool all of us as well. Dream on you, today. It's your time to die. Your time to die. Shi Yan laughed coldly with a grimace on his face. The crowd looked at Gu Hai, their faces gloomy. Fooling you guys? Oh, are you so sure? Gu Hai said in a cold voice. I'm not sure. These past few days, I've been following you around, just waiting for a chance to poke you in public. Ha ha ha. A big turtle shell. You just want to fool everyone. Dream on. Now, I'll destroy it in front of you, to prove that it's nothing. There's nothing. Then, it's time for you to die. Shi Yan said with a scowl on his face. Among the crowd, Fairy Winner had an anxious face. The surrounding crowd gradually surrounded Gu Hai, ready to kill him. Hei Yan, however, probed his hand and took out his long sword to demolish Gu Hai, and a sword blasted towards the huge turtle shell below. Boom! With a full-strength sword, using all of Hei Yan's power, the entire Dragon Vein city was violently shaken under the huge force. So sturdy. After the sword, Shi Yan's face changed. Yet, under this full-strength sword, it only chopped open a thin slit in the turtle shell. Gu Hai, you're really willing to put in the blood, aren't you? The hardness of this turtle shell is even stronger than that bronze sword you had earlier. You're really willing to give it up? Wait for me to destroy it, Shi Yan roared. Boom, boom, boom. 10 swords chopped down in a row, and immediately, countless cracks appeared on top of the turtle shell. Boom, the huge turtle shell seal exploded. No, there's something down there, steeply, someone exclaimed. The turtle shell seal exploded, revealing a huge dungeon inside. In the middle of the underground palace, there were bizarrely 2 people. The moment they saw the 2 people, the countless powerhouses in the 4 directions all stagnated at the same time. Shi Yan and Quadid Great King all had their faces frozen. One was as fat as a giant pig, and the other was as thin as a withered wood. Their clothes were all torn and tattered. The 2 rolled together, the fat man pressing down on the thin man, seemingly lingering, seemingly making out, face to face, chest to chest. Suddenly by the Xian unfolded the Earth Palace. It seems that the good thing was disturbed, shocked to look up to the outside world 100,000 cultivators. Moreover, the two still retained the previous **** smile on their faces. The most crucial thing was that both of them were male. The surroundings suddenly turned silent. Everyone froze, blind my eyes, to dead perverts. A cultivator's face froze and said, "Huh, rascals," long when you instantly covered her face and turned her back.